Hello, storytelling Ron. I just realized I got to do something here to help you understand how to create a setting for your game. But this is what I do for mine, and this is the this here is the Dark Ages campaign setting book, and I already have this all done as far as like the adventures. I play tested them out. I started here with a bunch of different groups, and then moved around the coast with various groups that survived and continued role playing. And I even ended up over here on the far left here at Kazora with a little small group recently. And I mean, I've been doing Christians of Space, focusing on that, but I want to really get a Dark Ages setting going, a campaign setting, church history. So I'm going to explain to you what I'm doing here. Since I've already got this laid out, I got to figure out who they all are and what the factions are. Now, is this based off of history? Not really. I mean, it touches on history, but obviously it's just me making up stuff because I don't want to sit here and have to research and be accurate and figure out exactly what happened in 6th century, 7th century. So it's kind of limited in what you know and don't, and you got to dig through hagiographies and all that stuff. I don't want that to be the labor of me and then of this game. I want it to be like the basics, the concepts of 6th, 7th century, the concepts of what was going on back then, and then just kind of do it in a simplistic way. Because I just want that freedom to be able to kind of come up with stuff. So, here in Ravia is where I started the players, sort of like this is the first level or whatever, the beginning, and then moving around the coast to Kazora being somewhat harder. But what I'm discovering in For the Lord RPG is that I don't really have to worry about oh man, what's the term? The CR levels, the I forgot what it's I'm 55, I forget the terms now. The CR level, which is the I mean, look, I literally can't remember. I got my arm here. I see my elbow here. What's it called? The critical level? For the month challenge rating. Ooh. So D&D has challenge ratings because it's a terrible system. In my game, you don't need challenge ratings. I mean, I can if people have been playing the same character for 50, 60 episodes, I can still throw them in Ravio and do the same thing, and they still have a challenge. It'll still be a great story. I don't have to worry about balancing out. They got to just, the thing. I mean, I always suggest that when you play with a group and you have characters, you start off having them encounter something weak, rats, a couple bandits, whatever, just to get a feel for their strengths and weaknesses, and you go from there. And generally speaking, and just like in real life, things don't go up in levels. You get to a certain point where you're good at something, fighting or whatever, but then you don't become a superhero, right? I don't. That's just not the kind of role playing I like anymore. I mean, granted, if that's what you like, go for it. But I just don't like it anymore. I don't like that style anymore. I don't like how you have to have challenge ratings or levels or whatever. Anyway, so I'm going off on a little rant there. But let me get back to this. So the way to make a fun, intriguing storyline is to create factions. And you create those factions and you put them around like a sandbox. And as the players look in a campaign, as they play the game and go around the different locations, each having their own little battle map or whatever, as you go around and have encounters, you will introduce those factions. You got to have them in your RAM, right? Your random access memory, right at the front of your brain lobes. You got to have it ready to be able to use, and in a very simple, mentionable warning, rumor way, or even an encounter, but being one of their groups or faction, one of their groups or agents or supporters, so that the characters get a sense of a bigger world. And when they learn about different factions and the rumors of what they possibly are doing, it adds a sense of story, and plot and setting. And also, not only am I going to do these larger factions in those areas, when I go to, say, one of the little sections here and build up on it, I'm just going to randomly find one here. Okay, the mini quest of Logano. I'm going to figure out what main faction is here, and then break that up into little mini factions in the town, so that when the characters go to each little area, not only are they going to know about the main faction that's there, but also what other, what are the other factions are in there that are doing things, and then what other little characters I have in there that have their own little intentions and stuff. And so that's how you build out a world in a campaign. That's really kind of how you do it, and figure out what each one is doing in that area and what they're up to. Like, for instance, the Horned ones here have this area of Ravio, and they're running a slave operation in mining, because that's what pagans do. And they're using the antlers, the pageantry, or the accessories of deer antlers and hides as their warriors, and scaring people, and their nightmarish sort of demon monster looks, to get all the little villages to submit and give up slaves for the slave mines. And then, but what's really financing that, right? Because you got a profit, they need a profit, is the merchants of Porlezo up here. They're the ones that actually buy the ores, the iron ore that they're getting from the slave mines over here, and they're called the iron merchants. Okay. There's also a fun little Barrow Whites thing here, and Aragno has its own little story setting, and then Porlezo has a story setting with the worship of the Bestia de Lac, which is the dragoon in the lake, and they're running this operation as well. So if they encounter the Horned ones, they and defeat them, they're gonna eventually start counting the Iron Merchants, and I'm gonna do a little list here of what kind of warriors they're gonna have, how tough they are. Then over here are the Sorcerers of Bacchus, which supports the Iron Merchants, because the Sorcerers of Bacchus, and at the moment on this map, I only have one Sorcerer of Bacchus here. But he's part of a faction of sorcerers who want to return to the glory of Rome. Okay, that's their goal and what they want, and they're like they're obviously greedy for. Let me just type that down right now. Greedy for Roman artifacts, Roman relics, securing ancestral shrines. So that's a big one. So they find them and they want to secure them by setting up secure with Roman undead. This is silly, but I'm gonna undead legionnaires. So they want, the way I'm going to look at this is they want to set up legionnaires like undead looking as props in the shrines, that for the most part are just props, right? But that's their way of keeping people out and making them have fear of these Roman legionnaires. But of course, these can be possessed, they can be animated, and that is historical that monks have witnessed inanimate objects being animated through possession. So there's that. And then, of course, there's also pagans have been known to create or use guards that are just skeletons and blah, blah, blah. The Pict Warriors, I read about it in them, but I'm going to use it here as them placing these skeletons with Roman Legion armor in shrines to protect them, and then they can become animated somehow. If there's a local curse or thing on it, which I'm going to do that. It's just going to be something that we got to just have fun with and go crazy with. So the Sorcerer of Bacchus is a faction, and they're being mainly the one guy, Jampatariah or something. But it's gonna allude to other sorcerers, that are further campaigns or whatever. I might add more. I don't know. I'll see as I go. The Witches of the Sorcerers of Bacchus is the Roman Latin faction, in this area, because it's obviously Italy, 6th, 7th century after the fall of Rome. Witches of Magni are the Germanic aspect of this, and they are running Lugano. Mainly, a little offshoot is the Coven of Cazora over here, but mainly the Lugano area. And these two support Porlezo mainly because they know that those Iron Merchants, not because they're friends or anything, but because they know the Iron Merchants are going to help finance and hinder the church that has been coming into the area. So that's the unholy alliance that they have here. And the witches of Magni are Germanic forest witches and shamans, and they're going to be running stuff in Lugano, keeping out the church or ruining the church there. They could be, I think an offshoot is the witch in Aragno. There's a witch in Aragno that could be a servant of the witches of Magni. So every time the Christians come in and defeat an area, they're going to hear about these other factions, and that the witches of Magni will defeat you. Like the witch, if they defeat the witch in Aragno, she will say that about the witches of Magni. Or if they convert the witch or imprison her, they can possibly get this information out of her through fun little interrogative things. And yes, torture or whatever. I mean, in the sense of the way the Inquisition did it. And that happened, and it was real. And the only torture that was real then that we know about in a very detailed sense is the Inquisition tortures, because they documented it. What we don't know much about is the pagan torture, because they don't document it. It's freaking horrific and horrific, and not at all the way the Christians, the Inquisition documented it and had rules and were very careful about how they did it, and they did it for specific purposes, which is really interesting. They didn't torture them to get beliefs out of them. They tortured them like waterboarding or the rack, just stretching them and this was very rare when they even did it. They tortured them to get facts out of their, like, what actions they did. Like, did you do sacrifice to this? I forgot the stuff. But did you do like a sacrificial thing? Do you do these habits? Do you do this habit? Because they want to know what the actual fruits are of what you do, and then to go verify it, they want to verify it as well. And if they can get that information, they'll know what you're telling the truth or not. They never tortured them, though, and this is based on Inquisition stuff that I've heard on YouTube and research. They never tortured them about their beliefs, because you could just lie about that. They tortured them about things that they could actually go and look for facts on. Anyway, not that the characters will ever do torture. I just brought that up as an interesting side note. The Sources of Bacchus is a faction. The Witches of Magni are a faction. I'm kind of getting them ready to build out. And I'm doing bullet points just because I wanted this to be a quick access type of information about them. And then further down in the thing, you'll find more information. These are kind of like things that the GM might want to know offhand and could use, in a simplistic way. Then there's other factions that are smaller, the Covenant of Kazora and the Dark Dwellers. The Dark Dwellers are kind of cannibals, cave dwellers, however, whatever level of scariness you want to add up in these mountains here. And they run some sort of slave mining operations as well for Portalezo, the little Dark Dwellers here. And they might even have a frustration with Bacchus, because the Dark Dwellers are dwelling in some of the old Roman burial sites, shrines that were pilgrimages of the ancient times, 300-400 years ago. And I'm sure that the sources of Bacchus want to get them out of there or make deals with them to protect it. But I'm sure, but in their, of course, pride and arrogance, they just think that the Dark Dwellers are dirty, disgusting pagans or whatever, peasants. So there's that. I'm not building up the Agno area, even though it's included in here. Oh, I probably will at the very end. But I don't have anything for them specifically yet, like what factions would be in that area. Maybe it's the Witches of Magni or the Sorcerers of Bacchus has an additional thing there. These creatures are their own thing in the swampy area here, the Draconis and the Ogres, or the sort of giants. The Old Roman Fort is just a small little unique adventure in there with it, kind of a witch, but she's her own witch. The coven, of course, Kazora are their own coven, but I would say they would probably have a connection to the Witches of Magni, or an offshoot, or an embittered offshoot, like they, hate each other, even though they believe in the same thing, because that's what it is. So that's how you do that kind of thing. To build out a big campaign is the simplest way to do it is building out factions and having them all sort of intermingle. And then you want to know also what is their muscle, what is their fighting encounter group look like? Are they just low-level minions? Are they experienced mercenaries? Are they well armed, or are they local hirees or whatever? You know, are they just goons? What would they, or do they hire outsiders to do their bidding for them? You know, do they have the wealth? Like, I think the sorcerers of Bacchus would probably hire outsiders to do their thing, and these outsiders would have Roman type weaponry and stuff and armor, and the witches of Magni would have Germanic barbarians as their hirees, and not even their hirees, that would be their zealot warriors, right? They would have, that's how the witches of Magni would work. The horned ones would have, they take the slaves and take the strongest ones and then turn them into the, like the Janissary of the Islam world. They take the slaves and brainwash them and control them and do rituals on them with drugs to turn them into the horned one warriors, and they become the cult warriors for them. But they're generally weaker, you know, because they're the young scrappy slaves basically. So that's kind of the things you need to be aware of with each faction to create this bigger world, and that's kind of how you do it. I mean, that's how I do it. I'm going to show you. Yeah, it's not going to show you. There's, I did a really good one for the D&D stuff, but I'm like, we need to do it for the Lord RPG. There needs to be something out there that you all can access and go to. And again, I just want to go over this one last time about the. Not only do you have the bigger factions, but you will have your little local factions. So this is the horned ones, and let me zoom in on this real quick. And this is the battle map that I made for it. And this is like an example of what you could do for this adventure. Create this kind of battle map. I did this all on Foundry. It's all one, battle map screen. Most of the mine is hidden. I added this extra bit here that I did not play out, but it's an extra sort of lost temple, which I'm adding for the adventure book. I didn't play it though. I made the game just about this little the first mine here, because it was a very simple. It was kind of like a mini shot or whatever the game I played with that, and I wanted to keep it simple. Obviously, with an adventure book, you can add more and more and more. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm adding more possibilities, and so there's a little village here. You can and in this, obviously you have the bigger map with all the factions, and then each area has its own little area map or battle map or whatever you want to call it. This is the Ravio area, and then this one leads to different battle maps. It leads to the Stones of Ravio, which is another battle map. And obviously these are just the first mine, Lost Templar here, and these are all hidden in the Foundry, by the way. And if you were playing this on a table, I would simplify each little area. This is obviously the village, a forest, the chasm and open mine entrance, then the mine itself. So you might want to have those as separated little envelopes of the printables, if you were using my modular printables. Obviously the rocks here would be big paper bags or something. I don't know, whatever you want to use for mountains or very steep. This is meant to be a very steep hillside, by the way. But even in here, you will have your little factions. You will create little NPCs that have their own things going on, their own conversion level. And I wouldn't say every individual. I can't zoom in much because it gets kind of blurry. But I wouldn't say every person has a conversion level, but groups, the villagers, the leader. Are there some minions in the area that kind of serve the horned ones? I mean, they're obviously going to have a negative conversion level or a lower conversion level. What do the villagers think? How are they? Or do they support the horned ones? Or they just live in fear of them? Or are they looking desperately for something else? That's a conversion roll right there. You can decide. Then this pathway up through here will have your little ambush, possibly, or forest beasts. I got a little image of the horned one here, the beast one, that you can use, but I wouldn't use it unless you really felt like they needed a big challenge. Then, of course, here, the different mine, going through that and clearing out and finding the final, or the boss in here. And then, of course, the Lost Temple can have something cool and fun in there. I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. I just made it, but I'll come up with something. High level, low level, whatever. And that's kind of how you do it for each battle map, because each of these sections, and this is a close-up of each area, and I'm going to be breaking those down. And sorry, we're going to get this. And I'm going to fill these out and give you more stuff to work with. The Lost Temple, more stuff to do there, traps and stuff. Because we just need, we as For the Lord RPG is a Christian role-playing game. You evangelize, you church plant, but we need this whole cool OSR style, Dungeons and Dragons style, fun adventure. And that's the market I'm going after, Christians who play RPGs, so that you all can have that and more with, oh, and this one was a fun one too, but with some adventure supplements that will help give you ideas. You can run them or give you ideas, and I really try to keep it minimally written so that it's quick for you to use. You can open up these 2 pages and use this adventure without having to really look at much else as far as the source goes. So I really try to make everything sort of right there on available, playable from those pages, so you don't have to read a ton, and everything's kind of either bullet points or quick little notes, quick simple stuff. Okay, so that's it. I just want to give you a little video on how I'm working on the campaign book. The rule book is pretty much done. I'm just working on the last couple of notes on pit traps here. Just filling out a little more info on how to use those. Pit traps, pits and trap falls, altars, shrines, and tombs. And I gotta finish up these NPCs. I think there's something I gotta fill in something here, and then I gotta just the reference pages at the end really kind of make sure I got those done. And in the same process, I'm just editing as well. I'm going through trying to clear out my brain and reread everything with a fresh look, which is really hard to do since I've been staring at this for so long. Oh, look, I can see something right there. Yeah, that was easy. It's just missing one word, didn't fit in there. Okay, I'm gonna scrunch it just to give it a little. Wait. Oh, that's weird. I just must have typed that in there wrong. What is going on there? I see ferocious twice there for no reason. Oh, I think it just didn't refresh. All right, there we go. And fit that back in there. Perfect-ish. Okay, yeah, I'm just got to get a new fresh look on it to edit and proofread. But it's tough when everything is so like, woo. Okay. Anyway, the one thing I hate too is when I figure out a better. What is going on here? I'm definitely missing something there. I figure out a better, say, way of doing things, like a better, more efficient way of doing something, and then I realize, I have to go through now all the rest and update that new, formatting I've been doing or whatever. Like for instance, I think for Vigor, which is hit point, Vitality, I think I used to not have a space here because I like the way it kind of fit. So then I'm like, I think I got to put a space there, and then that means I got to go through all of them and add that space, kind of a thing. So that's a tough part. Oh, okay, I misspelled this hard. See, I misspelled hardened, but I didn't misspell Warhammer. But I the way I have it here, I want to have it like it is. I guess axe doesn't have an E on it. No, it doesn't. Battle axe? I don't know. See, is battle axe? I always thought battle axe was the. Is that battle axe okay? Oh, it's gonna give me a red. But this C hardened right here, it's hard to see that because the other ones I know are spelled correctly, even though there's a. Is battle axe? Just let me look this up. Battle axe. See, they all have the E for that. Let me see. What's this? So there's no one word battle axe. It's just no. That's what the heck. I don't know how to spell battle axe. Is it this? Also, okay, you spell it in various ways. See, that's very strange. They have axe with XE, AXE, and AX, so that throws me off. So I am going to do this. Now, whether I've done that throughout the entire thing, I don't know. Those are tricky things like that. You gotta okay. It is what it is. Okay, so that's my little thing on rambling here. Okay. In the game of life, boys and girls, in the game of life, we gotta make campaign books. We gotta make adventure books for the Four Lord RPG, and I'm working on that. And then we gotta have in the game of life roll holy dice. All right.